stages of the project formulation. So feasibility, techno-economic, project design, input analysis, financial analysis, social cost benefit analysis, and pre-investment analysis, right? So then we had seen the very important topic was demand market and demand analysis. So we had seen why we need a demand analysis. I had given an example of demand survey in an area called Shamshabad, where they were giving you an applications for the venture. Okay, then we had seen different methods of demand analysis, like market identification, like what are the drawbacks of your current product. Okay, you will be having an feedback from the consumer, and you will take the feedback, and now you will start identifying the market, and you will improvise the new product in that. Then in the business cycle, what we had seen, there are three different types of cycles in a business, where the emerging is nothing but if you're having a more demand for the product, and the flow of goods and services are less, and but the demand is more for that product, that you call it as emerging cycle. Coming to the plateau cycle, there will be a balanced form of demand of the product, and the flow of the goods and services are also same. There are equal number of units. Okay, then in the declining stage, you will be having a less demand for the product what you're manufacturing, that you call it as declining. Then we had seen product niche. Product niche is nothing but you are trying to produce a specified product or for a specific purpose. So likewise, you are expanding your business and attracting the consumers in a specified fashion, like preference. Based on the preference given by the feedback of the consumer, you will be creating a specified product. For this, I had given an example of HP printer. Okay, then the next one is a growth stage. Growth stage is nothing but like a specialized product, like iPhone or iPad. For that iPhone and iPad, for every year they will be producing a new generation phone. So because of that branded nature, a consumer will be trying to buy that, and because of a new product that is been established in the market, there will be a growth in that. Okay, then we had seen the competition, how well, when you are an example of a grocery shop in a colony, if it is on a single grocery shop, you will be having a more demand for the products what you're selling. If there are more number of shops that are being established day by day, the demand will get saturated. So you should also study the competitors around your business, right? So that is competition. So then we had seen a slide of key steps involved in a market or a demand analysis. What are the steps that must be taken by a product analyst in order to survey the demand analysis? There are different methods. The first one is situational analysis. I said there will be a person called as a project analyst. He will be having an informal talk between the consumer and the competitor, and he will be trying to study how the market is going on, what is the demand that is going on. So those all he will be having an informal talk. What are the buyers for the product? What is the current demand of the product? What are the prospects of the immediate sale? All these conversation he will be having. Then the second one is collecting of the secondary information. I said, like, when you do any sort of analysis, either it could be financial or a demand analysis or the market analysis, you will be trying to gather the two types of information. The first one is a primary information, where you will be doing the survey for the first time. You will be getting the information and you will be jotting it. The secondary information is where you will be taking the information by already written form, like national census, annual survey of industries, economic survey, monthly bulletin of the Reserve Bank of India. All these you will be studying on it, and on the other side, you should collect the information which is relevant to your product, right? That is called as a collection of secondary information. Then Now what is how to conduct the market survey? How to conduct the market survey? Why you are doing a market survey? In order to get some information regarding the demand of the product, or the what is the product when you are selling the product, how what is the profitability of that product. All these you will be doing a survey, right? So this conducting the market survey is of two different types. Okay, let me show you. There are two different types of market survey. The first one is census survey and second one is sample survey, right? First one is census survey and second one is sample survey. In census survey, what the analyst will do, he will take the entire population and he will cover the entire population, and he will do the survey regarding the demand or the growth of the demand of the product, or what is the elasticity of the demand, and what is the socio-economical characteristics of the product, right? When you are launching a product in a market, you should also try to cover all the environmental factors that is being covered, like social, economical, market, demand, everything. You have to do the survey. So coming to the market and the demand survey, he will try to gather the information from the whole population of the socio-economical characteristics of the buyer. Okay, coming to the sample survey, let me use a pointer now. Okay, so a census survey is nothing but where you will be considering the entire population of the market what you are choosing. Sample survey is like you will be selecting a sample of the population, and now you will contact them and you will take the observation. You are now constraining, you are not taking the whole population, but you are taking the sample of the population, and now you are doing the survey. So now for doing a survey, there are two different types, that is census survey and sample survey, right? Is it clear? Is it clear? Yes, is it clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Please talk with me. If I see like I am worried, I'm once it is like you are muting my mics, I don't know whether you are muting me or I am talking to the system or you are responding to my explanation or not. Please tell me yes or just raise your hands. Okay, right? So then now first after having a classification of the survey, now we will see the steps that are involved in the sample survey. So now we'll see the first step is now you will be defining the target population. So now you will be going to some xyz market or xyz locality. You will be selecting a certain amount of the population there. In the second step, you will be selecting the sampling scheme or the sample size. These are the different methods to do a survey, like a population survey. There are different methods, like so they will be using a sampling scheme and sample size. Now in the third step, what they will do, they will develop a questionnaire. Questionnaire is nothing but the number of questions or what they wanted to observe from the population or from the locality. They will first set a question paper in sort of a educational point of view. A teacher will set a question paper, and teacher will give the question paper to the student, so student will answer it. In the same way, to have a survey, the product analyst will prepare a questionnaire, and he will recruit some field investigators, and these investigators will take this questionnaire and they will give personally to all the locality people around that locality, and now they will start getting the observations or the answers from the questionnaire. Okay, after getting the information from the questionnaire, now they will scrutinize it, analyze it, and now they will start interpreting the information. From that information, they may be getting the pros and cons. They're like there might be the locality of that people, they might be thinking of some improvement must be given to that product, or okay, they are okay with the product, or there are some drawbacks of that product. So by this survey, an entrepreneur will try to improve the product, or he will decide to stop the product, or he will be in a stage that whether he can go for the new product or he can do an improvement to the current product. So this is the step for doing a sample survey. So sample survey is like you're collecting the sample from the population, and now you will be you will be taking the observation from the questionnaire. Okay, so these are the steps in a sample survey. Is it clear? Is it clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so now we will see the character. We are here. Let me go back to this. So we had seen the first one, second one, collection of secondary information. Third one, we had seen how to conduct the market survey. We had seen different steps in that and the classification of that. And now we will be seeing this topic, characterization of market. Okay, this is the topic now which I will be covering, characterization of the market. Okay, so now the characterization of the market is again been divided, or you can just simply tell the steps that are involved to denote a market in an enterprise are of different varieties. The first one is collecting the effective demand on the present and the past situation. Second one is breakdown of demand. Third one is price. Fourth one is methods of distribution and sales promotion. Fifth one is consumers. Sixth one is supply of competition. Seventh one is government policy. So today we will be covering this first three topics of characterization of market. What is a characterization of market? You are trying to, when you are launching a product in a company, you will be now studying what is the stage you are standing in a market. What is the demand of the product in the past and present scenario. Okay, so how well you're dividing the demand in terms of different market segments, how well you're dividing the demand of the product what you're launching in the different segments of the market. See, generally when you're launching a product, you have different localities, different regions in Hyderabad or Rangareddy. When we take in terms of our district, there are different segments, right? So the demand of the product may be changing because of this geographical division, or the nature of the product, or because of the consumer group, or because of the utilization of the product in different localities. Different people, the people in different localities will utilize it in different way. So you should now do a survey of the even the regions where you are launching the product, right? So that's why I said you, I'm telling you, if you do a survey, it is not just going there and writing down. Just go to a grocery shop and ask him from how you are stabilizing your shop. Stabilizing your shop is nothing but he is like what are the profits of the shop, what are how he is taking the legal procedure, what are the legal procedure of that shop. Okay, whether if he's taking a legal procedure like the legal procedure from the food and license authority, or whether he has taken the application from Startup India, how he had started his shop, and from where he's getting the goods, how he's advertising, how he's selling, and what are the margins of that shop. So when you talk with a grocery shop, from grocery shop to the large scale unit, you will be getting the knowledge, how to run a business, right? So these all whatever I am telling in the slides are like it will help you when you start up a company. See, when you're calculating a demand of a product, it is not like calculating in terms of the profits or in terms of the sales, but even you should take the survey from the different localities also, and you should also study the past and the present scenario of that demand, right? So now we will see each in detail. So the first one is effective demand on the past and present cases. Okay, so in this you will be studying the consumption of the product and effect of the abnormal factors that are to be adjusted, right? So there will be some abnormal factors that will be influencing on your product, so that you have to study in the present and the past scenario. Coming to the breakdown of demand, breakdown of demand is like you will be dividing your demand of the product into different segments. The first one is based on the nature of the product, the second one is based on the consumer group, and the third one is based on the geographical division, right? So based on these three different segments, you will be getting the different information, and it will help you to study the nature of the demand. And see, this demand will be varying from one stage to other stage. When you take the consumer group, different groups will give you the different feedback, right? Coming to the nature of the product, you have to study even the nature of the product, like type of the product you're manufacturing, right? See, when you're concerned about the service base, the demand will be different. We are When you are launching some manufacturing in the manufacturing field, the demand will be different. So based on the nature of the product also, the demand will vary. So that is about the breakdown of demand. So now comes a very very important, how to price your product, how to denote, how to calculate the price. When I'm selling a mobile phone in a market, how will I calculate the price of the market? Generally, in a normal scenario, normal point of view, in a normal knowledge, what I will do, I will calculate the machinery cost, the material cost, to prepare the material cost, the labor cost, and the shipping cost. All these I will add on, and I will select a price for it. So there are different methods for calculating the price for that product. Now let's see that in detail, right? So now we will see, to give a price to a product, there are four different ways, right? There are four different ways. The first one is manufacturer price quoted, FOB. FOB is called as free on board. Okay. Second price is called as CIF. C stands for cost, I stands for insurance, F stands for freight. Okay. Third one is landed price. Landed price for imported goods. Okay. Fourth one is average wholesale price. So these are the different methods of calculating the price of a product. So when you are buying a product in Amazon, they will be charging you the shipping cost, right? So the cost of the product plus the shipping cost. So now let's see how they are calculating, and these are the different methods of the price. It is not necessary that you have to go for FOB or you have to go for CIF or landed price. Based on the product, or based on the exporting and importing, based on the customs duty, and based on the international trading, or within a country, the prices will be changing, right? So now let's see what is this. Before explaining this diagram, let me explain what is free board. The first one, what is free on board? Okay, then I will explain this diagram. It will be clear for you. Okay, right? Let me first read what I had written in the slide. Free on board is the most commonly used shipping agreement in garment exporting. As the name indicates, the seller holds the responsibility of goods until it is loaded on the board of the shipment of or aircraft nominated by the buyer. Responsibility shifts to the buyer once the cargo is on board the ship or aircraft. You will not understand, I'm just reading. Now I will explain with the diagram. Okay, so now let's see, this is FOB. FOB for price. The first one is FOB price. So what is this is there are two persons involved when you're buying a product. There are two persons. One is seller and second one is buyer. Right? One is seller and second one is buyer. Let me take I am a seller and you are a buyer. Now you had a buyer said me, buyer gave me a quotation that so and so product is needed. I am ready to buy. Okay, he had paid the let we don't think about the payment. So the buyer had given the quotation to me. I am the seller of the product. Okay, so and so XYZ product is okay with me. Now I am going to buy. What I will do, I am here. I will take the product and I will board it to the ship. Right? I will now transfer my product from my factory, and now I will deliver it to the boarding area. Either it could be ship or aircraft. Right? Now the product is being traveled from the factory to the ship. In FOB, free on board, seller is responsible till the product is traveling from the factory till it enters the ship. Till it enters the ship, the seller is responsible. Once the product is being dumped into the ship, okay, once it is exported from my factory to his destination or to the ship, till the product enters into the ship, I am responsible. Once the product is entered into the shipment, now the buyer is responsible. If anything happens, any damage occurs to the product when the product is in the ship or aircraft, he is the responsible person. I am only responsible till I reach my product from my factory to the ship or an aircraft. But this second one, CIF stands for cost, insurance and freight. Here the seller is responsible till it reaches the destination. He has to pay the insurance and the freight cost till the product reaches the destination. Right? Here, after the product reaches the destination, the buyer is responsible. That's why here the orange indicates like where is the responsibility of the seller. Here for the FOB, the responsibility of the seller is from the factory till the ship. The buyer responsibility is from the ship till the destination or till his factory. But whereas in the second case, the responsibility of seller is more. He has to pay the insurance. He is responsible if any damage is occurred when it is traveling, when it is in the shipment. But once it reaches his destination or his point of a factory, he is not responsible. Now the buyer is responsible if any damage occurs. So these are the two different varieties of pricing a product. So when I talk in terms of risk, in FOB, seller is having more risk, buyer is having less risk. In CIF, buyer is having less risk, seller is having more risk. In FOB, I repeated, in FOB, seller is having less risk, buyer is having more risk. In CIF, seller is having more risk, buyer is having less risk. Is it clear? Is it clear?
Ma'am.
Yes?
Yes, ma'am.
Now
Once
I
again
will.
repeat, ma'am.
Okay, once again I have to repeat. Right. So there are, first we'll see what is FOB and CIF. FOB is nothing but free on board. CIF is nothing but cost, insurance and freight. In FOB, what will happen? This orange indicates seller line. Blue color indicates buyer line. Okay, now just see the color. Orange color indicates a seller line. Blue color indicates buyer line. Now the product is moving from the factory with a truck and it is dumped into the ship. Right? So now the seller, what he has, the responsibility is from the factory till the shipment. Once the product is reaching the shipment, now the seller will not do any work. The whatever the damage or loss of the product will be bared by the buyer. You can see the blue line is starting from the ship till the factory. So here the buyer will take the responsibility of the product in FOB. Coming to the CIF, the orange color line is traveling from the factory, carry forward by the truck, carry forward by the ship till the ship is entering into the port destination. The orange color line is moving from the factory till the ship is reaching the destination of the buyer. So here whatever the damage or the loss or the responsibility of the product will be taken by the seller. Once the product is reached the destination of the buyer, now the buyer, the blue color line indicates the buyer. Now the buyer will be taking the responsibility. If any loss occurs at the destination, he will be paying to that. But before the destination, he is not responsible. So that's why normally buyers will always opt CIF, as there is a less responsibility. Buyers will opt CIF, whereas buyers will opt FOB. Buyers will opt FOB because there is a less chance. Let me again read the definition. Fee on board is a commonly shipping agreement, and here the seller holds the responsibility of the good until it is loaded on board. The responsibility of the buyer will start once the cargo is started. Once the product is launched in the ship, the responsibility will be transferred from the seller to the buyer, that is FOB. Now you will be clear when I read the definition of the CIF. Let me go back to CIF. Yes. So now I will read this. Now it will be clear. Okay. CIF is cost, insurance and freight. It is a shipping agreement under which seller is responsible for the cost of the goods in transit, providing insurance with the buyer's name as beneficiary. Risk passes to the buyer as soon as the cargo is on board to the ship or aircraft. So what will happen in CIF? Buyer will not have much risk because after reaching the destination only the buyer will take the responsibility. Whereas in FOB, seller will only have the responsibility till it reaches the ship, but buyer has to see the risk what is happening the product when it's traveling in the ship, as well as when he is unloading the product from the shipment to his destination. He is responsible for unloading plus the traveling of the product in the shipment, whereas in CIF he is only responsible for unloading the product. He is not responsible of the traveling of the product in the shipment. That's why buyer will always he will always try to use the CIF price. Buyer is always try to use the CIF price, but whereas seller, he will always try to use the FOB price. These both are different methods of giving the calculated price, but I'm just telling you two different varieties of giving a price to the product. Now let's say how they are calculating the price for FOB. Yes, I had explained the definition, the difference of FOB and CIF. Now let's see how they are calculating in terms of mathematically. Is it clear? Is it clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Still, if you're not understanding, I will repeat it again. Anyone who is not understanding, I will repeat it again. The diagram itself, it will say you very clearly. I will remove this yellow colored one. You will understand it. right? Yes. So the diagram, it is saying you FOB, orange color stands for seller, blue color stands for buyer. You can see in the first line, the length of the orange color line is less. The length of the blue color line is more. So what it is saying, in FOB, the responsibility of the buyer is more, right? In CIF, the length of the orange colored line, is seller one. It is more. The buyer line is less. So what it is saying in CIF, the role and responsibility of the seller is more, whereas buyer, the role and responsibility of the buyer is less. So by this we can conclude that generally for CIF, the CIF buyer tries to opt for CIF as the line is less, whereas for FOB, the line of the seller line, the orange colored line is less, so the responsibilities are less. So what it ultimately says, you seller will try to opt for FOB. Is it clear? Is it clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. What is the time now? It is just okay. Time is there. Let me continue. Okay. Now let's see the calculation of giving the price of this is FOB. Let me give the heading of this. This is FOB. FOB. Okay. So now how to calculate the price of FOB? Now the first case what I had written, if you're exporting the fabric internationally, if you're exporting an fabric or any product, fabrics or any products internationally, the rate of the product includes the original cost of the fabric plus delivery to the sea oblique airport plus uploading to the ship or aircraft. The cost will include the original cost of the fabric plus delivery cost of the sea or airport, delivery cost of the shipment plus uploading cost of the product from the ship or aircraft. This is the total cost. Okay, second case what I had written, shipping your garment from the manufacturer directly. You're taking the product directly from the manufacturer. If I'm a manufacturer of a product, I will be the buyer will take the quotation, and now the quotation price will be the material cost plus cost of making plus overhead cost plus commission plus transportation cost from factory to the port. From factory to the port. If I am taking directly from the manufacturer, the total cost will be varying. If I am the exporting the product internationally, the cost will be varying in terms of FOB. Is it clear? And I'm again telling you, the students, please write this in your books. I will again repeat the two different cases. If you're exporting the product internationally from the boundaries of the from our country to other country, the cost of the product is original cost of the fabric plus delivery cost, shipment cost plus uploading of the product from the ship or aircraft. The second case is when you're exporting the product directly from the manufacturer, the cost will be material cost plus cost of making plus overhead cost plus commission plus transport cost from the factory to the port. Right? Is it clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Are you writing this? Are you writing this? Or just make a note of it in different means? You will not understand if I upload it at the end of the unit 3. Only when you are seeing the slides, you will understand. Please make a note of this. Yes? Any disturbance? Any disturbance?
No, ma'am.
Okay. So now we will see Now we will see CIF. Okay, now we will see CIF. Let me read what is written in the slide. Seller is responsible for paying. Please mute your mics. Please mute your mics. Who is talking, making disturbance? Okay. Right. So whatever I had shown, the two different cases, these are how to calculate, how to give an FOB price for your product. Okay. Now let's see how to give a price of the product when I'm giving a CIF, a CIF methodology for your product. Okay. First, let me read what I had written in the slide now. Seller is responsible for paying the freight charges to move the goods to the destination of the buyer choice. Because in CIF, the seller is responsible till it reaches the destination, isn't it? In CIF, the whole the risk and responsibilities, whatever is being taken by the seller, not by buyer, right? So now the seller has to pay the freight charges. What is a freight? What is the meaning of freight charge? What is the meaning of freight charge? What is the meaning of freight charge? Just Google it and tell me. What is called as freight? What is called as freight charge? What is called as freight charge? Just type it in Google and tell me. Are you there? Are you there? What is called as a freight price? What is called as a freight price?
And the freight charge is calculated based on the type of mode of transportation, ma'am.
Yes. Still any answers? Still any answers? Still any answers? Only one person has given. You have chance to type it in the Google. As it is an online platform, you can get the answers. What is a freight price? Define freight price. Define freight price. If you're not answering, it looks like you're just you're not listening to my class, or either you're trying to fetch the answers. What is the reason behind giving the answers lately? What is freight price? What is the freight price? It takes just 2 seconds to type it in Google. What is freight price? Who is the CR of the civil? Civil department and Triple E? Triple E? None of you are answering. Yes? Who is the CR of Triple E? Who is the CR of Triple E and civil department? If this is the case, I will be just explaining the PPT and you will not listen my session. I'm just asking you a simple definition. What is a freight price? Freight price. Or just give me what is the meaning of freight. What is the meaning of freight? Please be aware of it. This session is recorded. If you're not answering, this is recorded. What is the meaning of freight? Shall I type it in front of you? It takes a 1 second time.
Ma'am, it is amount paid to carrier company for the transportation of goods from a point of origin to agreed location.
Yes. In simple point of view, it is the cost incurred to bring the product from one place to other place. Right? From one place to other place, when you are moving a product, what is the cost incurred to bring the product from one destination, from one origin to the destination, is called as a freight cost. Is it clear? Is it clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
ma'am.
For getting that simple sentence, I am just asking you 10 times. Right? So here the seller is responsible for paying the freight cost of that product. Freight cost is the cost incurred for moving the product from his factory to the destination of the buyer, right? So that's why there will be a more responsibility of the seller when he wants to give a CIF price to a product. So now we will give a mathematical formulae for the CIF. The CIF price for the product is material cost plus cost of making plus overhead cost plus delivery to sea or port shipment cost plus uploading cost plus shipping fees plus insurance, right? So you are paying an extra insurance to that product, right? So that's why the seller is having the more risk rather than buyer. This is called as an CIF. Is it clear? So that's why I had given it in the form of blue color to distinguish the formula difference between FOB. FOB is not having the shipping fee plus insurance, but whereas CIF is having an extra for the seller. Got it? Is it okay?
Yes, ma'am.
You will
Yes,
not
ma'am.
get problems. You will not get problems in this unit 3. But if they'll ask you, explain how you are calculating the price of the product in the market analysis, you have to write all these in detail. Just giving the definition will not work out. You have to write the formulae and give the different cases. If you are exporting directly from the manufacturer, the price will be different. If you are exporting internationally, if you are trading internationally, the formula will be different. And if you want to incorporate FOB price, the formula will be different. If you want to incorporate CIF price, the formula will be different. As like the two different, there is another price called landed cost. Landed cost, just I'll read it, and tomorrow we'll do a problem on it. As it the time is 12:08, just 2 minutes of time. 2 minutes is not sufficient to explain. Just I will read the definition of the landed cost. Landed cost includes the price of the goods, shipment cost, insurance fee, customs duty, and any other charges, right? So it is different. It is far more costlier than FOB and CIF. Here you are even including the customs duty and any other charges that is included in the product, right? So that's why you will be having shipping cost plus customs duty plus risk plus overhead cost is called as a landed cost. We'll do a problem. I'll give a problem and you can solve it in your home. It is an add-on where you not only the insurance or whatever the shipping cost, the uploading cost, here you will be even adding the customs duty, the tax of the customs duty, the VAT, whatever the risk, everything, and you will be adding it, and that cost you call it as landed cost, right? What is a duty charge? We had seen zero duty products in airports. One day I had given an example, right? So each country will be having a different policies to monitor the flow of goods, right? Different countries will charge the different customs duty, right? So monitoring, the way of monitoring the flow of goods and services from their country to other country, whatever the customs duty, the number will be changing, right? So we'll be doing this problem tomorrow, and we will continue the methods of distribution, consumer, supply of competition, and government policy after this. Okay, is it clear? Is it clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Let me take the attendance. Don't leave the session.